Almost there. All right. All right, share my screen. Use back in. Awesome. Share my screen. Let's get started. Um, all right. Should actually start right there. All right. So we only have 2 chapters left. Chapter number 33 and chapter number 34 is going to be end of our Torah cycle. This Torah cycle has been, I think, a really amazing cycle. I've learned so much over the last Torah cycle. I forgot how many months it's been, but I want to know, have you guys learned anything new?
Yes, I think I've learned something.
Okay, awesome. Do you have any suggestions on what we can do to help the learning in terms of how it's being taught, or do I go too fast? Just any recommendations you have. I'm open to hearing what it is that I need to do in order to help better assist us in our learning, because everyone learns differently. You know, some people learn verbally, and then some people learn by seeing pictures. Some people learn in various different ways, but I want to make sure that I can accommodate everybody, especially when it comes to learning the Torah. This in particular Torah portion is really talking about this last blessing. Say, this is the blessing that Moshe, the man of Elohim, spoke over the people of Israel after his death. Okay. And then he begins to, or did I say after or before his death? What's going on? Yeah, before his death. So it's before his death. Again, this whole Torah portion from the beginning of Deuteronomy all the way to right now, it's just been one day. That's all it's been. It's just been one day. And so at the end of this man's life, he's going to speak these last final words over the sons and the daughters of Israel and all those who join themselves to them. And he's going to have to leave everything in the hands of the next one who he placed his hands on, which is Yehoshua, to lead the children of Israel into the promised land. Okay. So they're transitioning from the wilderness, and they're going to be going into cross the Jordan River. And then they're going to go in and take possession and start their conquest of lands. Okay. And so he's going to say some things in this Torah portion about Yahweh. So the first thing he does is he mentions how Yahweh came, and he came from Sinai and from Seir, and he dawned on his people, and he shone forth from Mount Paran. And there was this glory that they saw. And it says, with him were myriads of holy ones. So when Yah showed up, we know that the Most High did not show up by himself, in a sense of, when he comes, Yah shows up on a throne. Okay. The Most High has never left his throne. He's sitting on the throne. And I think when we look at what we've learned in the past through our other understanding of the religions that we've been taught, we always have this idea of the Most High, which here is called Yohe-Wahe, that he actually will leave his throne. And the fact of the matter is that Yah doesn't leave his throne. His throne literally comes with him, okay? So what we talk about Yah's throne, what we're talking about is who he is. And I think we don't want to lose sight of this idea. We're so unfamiliar with a throne that is scary, because we think that the Most High is just, some just spirit that's, traveling around in the universe. He does a few different things. A lot of people think it's a lot of magic tricks and whatever, but the Most High is literally what we would call the king. He's the king, and he's the king over the universe and the universes. Okay. And so everything is under his power and his control. And what he wants us to understand is this relationship that we as his people should have. In spite of him being our father and being our savior and being our redeemer and being like a husband to us, in a sense, that we don't want to forget about this. This is the most important part, I think, because what it means is that it demands a certain level of respect and care, and I would say again, approach. Okay. So when the Most High talks about the children of Israel, he's always concerned about how they're approaching him, right? And so that's because he's a king. And so when he gives out his words, kings, when they speak, they have things that are written, so it's not like he's just talking to be talking and he just, flippantly just saying things, and there's no records that are being kept. So the Most High has record books, and he has scrolls, and he has attendants, and he has executioners, and he has, good, what they would call malachim, and he has evil malachim. Okay. And what I mean by evil, I'm talking about that word, Torah. Okay. And in the text, and I think it's in the book of Psalms, and we'll look at it, I think it's Psalm 78, he talks about the malachim, and the malachim is the ra'im. That means that they are bad. Okay. Yah is in charge of the good and the bad. Yah has created the good and the bad. Yah has created evil, and he's created good, and he's created everything. Okay. So when we get this understanding, and Yah will send an evil spirit, I think that's found in the book of Kings, if I'm not mistaken, or it might be Kings or Chronicles, where he says, who should I send to deceive these prophets? And he said, put a lying spirit in his mouth. And one of them who was there, a spirit says, send me, I'll do it for you. So Yah sends his messengers. We saw that he sends the malachim, or the malach of Yahweh, right? There's a special one called the malach of Yahweh. They call him the angel of the Lord, but it could be anyone that he chooses, and they can come, and they could be a Satan, which you and I have heard, which is called Satan. Yah can send a Satan. He can send an adversary. He can send a lying spirit. He can send an evil angel. He can send a bad angel. He can send angels to destroy. He can send them to wreak havoc. He can do it all. Okay. And I don't want us to lose sight of that, because this is a dangerous game that we're playing. Right. So let me go and open up another screen right here and just kind of show you something, give you an idea about this king that we're going to be talking about this week, on how, because he's the one who has the ability to hand out the blessings. It's like, if you can remember, and I said what a blessing was, what does a blessing have? What part of your body does a blessing have to do with? It's your knee. To give a blessing, it has to do with your knee. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So when we talk about a blessing, right? When you go before a king, you got to kneel. Okay. You have to kneel before the king. Okay. But the idea of a blessing is one who's going to bend the knee to give a gift. Okay. So when Yah says over in our Torah portion in the beginning words that this is the blessing, what it is Yah is really going to gift Israel with something. And so what he does is he's saying that I'm going to not kneel to you, but what I'm doing is I'm going to bend down, right? I'm going to come down, I'm going to bend down, and I'm going to give you something. I'm going to hand something to you. I'm not contradicting myself. What that means is that Yah will either have someone else do it for you. Like when the king is given a gift, does he get off the throne himself and give the gift to somebody, or does he have one of his attendants go and present the gift? Or when you present a gift to a magistrate, what do? They take the gift from your hand and they bring it to the king. Okay. So this idea is that the Most High is the one who, we're going to have to bend the knee to, but also too, he's the one who's going to give out these blessings. Okay. So I want to read this part to you. Of course, we read this before. It talks about how the only person that Yah knows is Israel, but I want to go to verse number 6. Okay. It says, when the shofar is blown in the city, don't people tremble? And the answer to that is yes. The next one is can disaster befall a city without Yahweh having done it? And the answer is no. Every bad thing that has ever happened on this earth has been because Yah has been behind the whole entire thing. He even says, I make the wicked for the day of judgment. I made them for this. I'm the one who created evil. For what? For my sake. I'm the one who brings disaster. I'm the one who brings trouble. Okay. So a reason why I'm saying this is because Yah doesn't want us to lose sight about who it is that has all power. The idea that the devil has an army. I questioned a guy about that today, and he couldn't answer my question. He said, yeah, the devil fell from heaven and he took all his angels with him and he has an army. And I said, okay, well, can you show me that in the Torah? Can you show that to me in the Tanakh? The prophets? Can you show it to me in the Psalms? And he didn't have a scripture. So then I told him, before you start talking and running your mouth about something about what you don't know about and you can't prove it, you really shouldn't say anything, because we have no text whatsoever about the devil having an army. We never have a text about him falling from heaven, except for they think Lucifer is the devil. And that's not true. He said, he's actually talking to this man. That's who Lucifer is. He's an actual being of light that he says he's talking to. So the devil is not Lucifer. Okay. So here in the Torah and the Tanakh, we don't see the devil as having and being a power against Yahweh. Okay. In terms of he's sharing some type of power with the Most High. Okay. So Yah finishes in chapter number 3 here in verse number 7. It says, Elohim does nothing. He does nothing without revealing his plan to his servants, the prophets. Everything that Yah is going to do, he is going to tell you and I about it. Okay. So after the prophets have ceased in talking, okay, Yah has said, I have spoken, I have given out the decree, I've told everybody what I'm going to do. You and I right now don't have any prophets like living right now to come and say that they're a prophet and that the Most High is speaking to them. So don't listen to anybody that claims to be a prophet. You understand? Because Yah has not spoken to these people, and especially if they're not speaking in his name. Because Yah reveals his plans. He doesn't do anything, nothing without revealing his plan to his servants, the prophets. So if you want to know what the plan is for Yah, all you have to do is read what Yah has already said. Okay? And that's what that's about. So let me go back to our Torah. Keep the kingship of the Most High in your minds and don't let anybody come and take that away from you. Number 3, here in verse 3, he said he truly loves the peoples. Okay. This word right here was not about this idea of like a love between a man and a woman or nothing like that. This love really has to do with Yah saying that he cherishes his people. Okay. I really cherish you. It has to do with Yah putting you and I in his bosom. Okay. Meaning that I'm embracing you. I'm holding and wrapping my arms around you. Okay. And he says, and all of his holy ones are in your hand. I mean, I've grabbed you guys, I've embraced you, I brought you, and now they're sitting at your feet. This was what Moshe is saying to the Most High. And they receive your instructions. Okay. So everything that Yah has done for us is about the way that he feels. He cherishes us because we're his people. Okay. And again, going back to, I don't know why you didn't go there. Going back to what he said right here again, it says this, verse number 2. I didn't think I had to read it, but now he's showing me I do. Of all the families on the earth, only you have I intimately known. That means I don't have a relationship with nobody else but you. I'm not in a covenant with anyone else. No one has ever seen my fire, no other nation. I've never revealed myself to anyone. I've only revealed myself to you. I've only done this for you. I haven't done this for anyone. There's no other people, okay, that I said that you're going to be a special treasure to me. There's no other people whose names are going to be written on the gates of Jerusalem except for the children of Israel. There's no other people that's names were engraved on the stones on the breastplate of the high priest. There's no other people whose names were engraved on the shoulder pieces of the priest's garments. There's no other people. You understand? There's no other people like we're going to see in our Torah portion that the Most High is talking to and putting a blessing upon. There's no other people, you see? So not to say that no one can come and join themselves, but the relationship that we have with the Most High is based upon the relationship that he had with our fathers, which is our Avotheka. And that's Avo is, our fathers, Avotheka. So our fathers are Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And one other thing that we don't want to get twisted, okay, is you don't ever want to get confused what a promise is versus a prophecy. Okay. This is what gets a lot of people. They think that a promise is prophecy. So, for example, when the Most High tells Abraham that you're going to have many descendants, I'm going to give this land to you and I'm going to be your Elohim, they think that that's a prophecy. They think where the Most High tells Adam and Eve about what's going to happen to them, that's a prophecy. That you're going to have a son and he's going to step on the head of the serpent and then he's going to turn around and crush the head of the serpent. They think that's a prophecy. So now they're calling the Most High a prophet. Okay. They're misunderstanding. Promises cannot be included with prophecy. Prophecy comes from prophets. Okay. And what the prophets do is they deliver Yah's information. Okay. And what this prophet does is they tell you something, and it's like they deliver a seed to you and they plant it, and it has to have a certain amount of time. Okay. But even so, they're using prophecy to mix it up with the promises that the Most High made. Okay. So our land that Yah promised to our fathers was a promise. It's not a prophecy. He's not prophesying about giving us a land. He's actually literally promising this. And Yah's keeping his word because you're the only family that I know. And this is why I will punish you for all your crimes. Okay? And Israel has a bunch of crimes. Okay. And those crimes are not undocumented. They are actually documented. Within your family, there are people in your family line that have caused problems for you, okay, and myself. It's things that our fathers and our mothers have done that you and I are literally reaping the benefits of, whether it to be good or whether to be bad. You not only inherited the genetic information from your mother and father, but all what those mothers and fathers had, they got it from their mother and father, who got it from their mother and father, and got it from their mother and father. That's the physical part that you're receiving. Okay. But the crimes that you and I have been doing and our ancestors have been doing, every time one of us comes back to this world, we have to experience what it was that they did. As you notice, you say, Akika, can you prove that? Yes, I can. What did the Most High say about Moab in terms of can they come and stand before the Most High and his congregation, or how long does it take?
No, they can't. How long does it take?
A long, certain amount of generations, right?
Yeah.
Edom, same thing. Mizraim, same thing. A person who was a bastard, you understand? So there's a certain amount of generations that the Most High said, you got to wait before you can come in my presence. Okay. So it's not something that should be, not thought about. The reason why the Most High is saying that is because when you make your appearance, you come and you stand before this great and majestic King. Okay. So the King tells us, and which we're going to talk about a little later this week, about Israel having to show up for their appointments. And all of their males are mandated to show up before him 3 times a year. They have to show up. Okay. And we'll go more into that. That's talking about the Day of Atonement. I mean, I don't know if it's the Day of Atonement. No, some other festivals. But at any rate, they have to show up 3 times. Okay. Before the King. And when he says, when you show up before me, you better have something in your what? You got to have something in your hand. So, because when you come see the King, you better show up with a gift. Okay. That's what he's telling you, especially I'm the one that you're on my land. That's my land. Okay. So here it is in verse number 4. All right. Okay. So we ended on 3, which talks about receiving your instruction. And then it's a comma after instruction, right? It's not, it's not a new sentence. It's actually a continuation of that instruction, which happens to be the Torah that Moshe commanded us as an inheritance for the community of Israel. We have not been told that what goes along with our land is the Torah of Moshe. It's the instructions that Moshe gave. And then once you lose confidence in Moshe and you try to erase Moshe out of the Torah, and you say that I'm going to do my own thing and we don't have to, it's done away with, and you get rid of him, then there really is no instructions at all. Okay. Somebody tell me why I'm saying what I'm saying.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Here's the question. If you erase Moshe from the Torah and you say, and you get rid of him and just say, well, I'm going to follow, I'm going to follow the Most High. I'm going to do the commands. But then you say you're not going to give credence to him, or you're not going to listen to the words that came from him. What are you really saying about the Torah?
And you're saying that you're not going to listen to it because Yahweh gave it to him to give
Thank
to
you.
us.
Yes. So the bottom line is Moshe was a representative for the Most High. And as we see in all the writings, it always talks about the Torah of Moshe. You see? So we want to make sure that we never lose sight of the Torah of Moshe. That's the Torah that you and I want. You can't, the instructions. So when the New Testament comes along and they say, well, here's the new instructions. These are the commandments of Christ. And they get rid of the Torah and they say, we don't want the Torah of Moshe because the Torah of Moshe brings death to a person. It's actually the power of sin. That's what they say. I'm not making this up. That's what they literally say. It's in 1 Corinthians chapter number 15, the last verse. It says that the Torah is the power of sin. That's what they say. Okay. So the instructions of the Creator is only going to be found in Moshe. The reason for this, everyone, is because we as a people chose for Moshe to be the one to get the instructions for us. It's not until we are in a renewed covenant with the Most High, after we finish out this punishment of this one, that the Most High is going to rewrite the Torah. Instead of on stones, he's going to write it on your minds. Okay. So let me show you that right quick. Well, no, I'm going to stay here for a second. So It's the Torah of Moshe that he commanded us as an inheritance. The inheritance is what goes along with the land. It's the inheritance. That's part of what you and I get. Okay. And that's something that he wanted to give to us before they go into the land. This is the reason why it took them over 40 years in the wilderness, is because the ancestors that were there, the first generation, they did not want to keep Yah's laws and commandments. And they weren't ready to transition out of the wilderness and the desert to go into the land. So these stories that you and I are going over are stories in order to prepare you. Yah is doing us a service by saying, okay, while you're there in exile, I want to prepare you to make what I would say the transition. And we'll talk more about that this week. Okay. So I need to prepare you for the transition. Well, before you get that, I want to tell you what the guidelines are. I want to instruct you and point you in the right way that you need to go. I want you to tell you what my expectations are. If you don't know my expectations, then what's going to happen to you is what happened to your ancestors, meaning that you will fail and then you won't be able to live long in the land. Okay. Here it's interesting that he uses the community of Yaakov. Okay. So he doesn't mention the community of Israel. He says the community of Yaakov, making reference that the one who is getting and receiving the information, the Torah, is about the community of Yaakov, meaning the families of Yaakov. This Torah has to, these instructions and have to be given to the family and the community of Yaakov, because Yaakov is the man who, what did he do? He wrestled with the representative. Sorry about the handwriting. Internet's kind of slow. He wrestled with the representative of Yah. Okay. And he ultimately prevailed. Okay. And when did he wrestle? He wrestled with the man before he would transition from Uncle Lavan's house to his own home, going back home. So this wrestling is what we're talking about with Yaakov. So Yah's, what he's trying to get us to understand is like, look, I know I'm going to have to deal with you. Okay. But ultimately, I want you to prevail, because once you prevail, listen to this. Once you prevail, then I'm going to change your name. And what's going to be your name if you prevail with me? What's Jacob's name? What does his name get changed to?
Oh, Israel.
His name got to Israel. That means the one who's prevailed with El. He's a prince. He's the one who Yah turned his head. And so we see the connection between the Torah, is instruction, is literally pointing the finger. So the one that Yah is interested in is Jacob, Yaakov, because what he's saying is, I'm going to point you in the right direction so I can teach you, because that's what this whole journey is about you being taught. So once I teach you, I can turn your head, and then you will transition from this man who's always wrestling and having a struggle, and you're always afraid of your enemies. And now I'm going to turn you to my way, and I'm going to have you have the ability to turn other people's head towards me. Because right now you're not doing that. You're fighting against me. I want you to prevail. And then once you prevail and you're willing not to prevail over me, that's what you need to understand. You're not going to prevail over Elohim. You're not. What it was is that he had prevailed over himself. He got over his fear. And you see that by basically after he finished wrestling and he got his name, he wasn't afraid to what? Stand before who? His brother, he thought that was going to kill him. Okay, which they've been in odds. Okay, so he doesn't, because Yah always tells us, what does he always say? Say, don't be fearful and don't be afraid. Why? Because I'm with you. I'm going to be with you. Right. So while we're on this path with the Most High, he's pointing us in the direction that you and I need to go. And that's what the Torah is. It is a Yah pointing his finger and saying, okay, this is the way that I want you to go. Verse number 5. It says that then a king arose in Yeshurun. Okay. A king rose up in Yeshurun when the leaders of the people were gathered, all the tribes of Israel together. This king right here, some people have said it was Moses. Moses was not a king. He wasn't a king. And how do we know this? Because the rebels came to him and said, what makes you think you have a right to rule over us? And he said, I'm nobody. He never claimed to be a king. He never claimed to do any of that. He was a servant of the Most High. Okay. So this king right here is Yah. And again, there's our nickname in Yeshurun. Okay. Yah has decided to be king to us. And this is the reason why he came with the myriads of the holy ones at his right hand, with a fiery law for them. Okay. Surprise, I forgot that part. Okay. So Yah's law is fire. And why is it fire? I'll tell you why it's fire. Because it says that Yah's words are like silver in a melting pot that's purified 7 times over. Yah's words are so pure and they're so perfect and they're so pristine that nothing should ever be added to them and nothing should be subtracted from them. And you and I need to hold them as if you're holding a jewel in your hand. For us to be able to have access to Yah's words, which is the Torah, you and I are truly, truly blessed. Okay. So we're going to pause right here at chapter number 33, and we're going to get into Reuven and all the other sons later on this week. I do want to end, though, with telling you, what part did I want to show you? Let me see. I had it earlier. Let me check my little file right here. Hold, bear with me for just a moment. I should have had it available. Yeah. Think about Yah as being a king. Okay. Just think of him as being a king. Location pure. What's at the end? Is it? That's the wicked. I don't want to talk about that. Yeah. Well, I can't find it right now. But yeah. All right, we'll look at that later. Sorry about that. So basically, this is what we're looking at. We're looking at Yah about to, I'll say this. What we're recognizing too, when we get later on this week and we start talking about Reuven and Yehuda and all these sons, what it's going to be saying, and as you read it this week, what we got to remember is that the Most High is the one that Moshe is making some requests for. So some of the sons, he's going to make some requests for, okay? And then others is going to tell you, and whether it's a request or he just blesses them, you're going to see that the one who is in charge of all this and the only one who can make it happen is Yah himself, okay? He's not asking anything from any of these sons. He's not asking Reuben to do anything. He's not asking Yehuda to be a certain way. He's not asking them to, do whatever. It is who they are, and is lined up with their personalities. And when we talk about them, Reuben, and we talk about Yehuda and Lewi, what we're talking about is their families. Okay, so these are the things that are going to be going on in the families, and we don't know what family we're from. We all like to say we're from Yehuda, but we really don't know. We might be from Lewi. Hopefully, one of us might be from Shimon, or we might be from, Benjamin. But either way, there's some benefits that are directly connected to the blessing that is going to be given to each one of these families, because these names are just representative of their families. And the reason why the Most High is giving these blessings to these sons and the family and daughters included, and the leaders and everyone, is simply because they are about to go and transition into the land. So this is not an arbitrary blessing. He's not just saying, let me just say this stuff just because I want you to be this way. He's saying, I'm going to do these things for you when you get to your land. And I also know the problems that you guys have. I understand your problems. I understand how you think. I know who you are. I know what your potential is. I know what your weaknesses are. I know what you need. And so, some of these sons are going to receive some amazing things. And then others you're going to barely hear anything about. And some you might not even hear their name. I think one person's not even mentioned is Shimon, which is interesting. He's not even mentioned. So that family didn't get anything. He didn't put no blessing on them. So could you imagine how they felt? Your whole family, you come from that family, and he don't even mention your family. He never says anything to that family. There's not a word mentioned to the tribe of Shimon. Not one word, not mentioned, not at all. Why do you guys think that is?
I can't think of anything.
Well, remember we went over it, and when we studied, do you remember when I told you that Shimon had definitely made Yah so angry in the wilderness? And I gave you guys a chart. I showed you many months ago. I showed you a chart, and I gave you the percentages of the children of Israel who died and how many from each family and what it was they were doing. Yes, Shimon was the number one offender. He was the number one offender. That family was the number one family that was not living up to their name, meaning to listen, okay, and to hear. Shimon means that he hears, right? Meaning not only Shimon should listen and hear, but the Most High hears. So Shimon was the number one offender, the number one family that got killed. They lost a lot of people. So as a result of the things that they did in the wilderness, the Most High doesn't have anything to say to them. He doesn't. I'm not going to bless a people who won't listen to me. And we'll talk more about that. Praise Yah for each and every last one of you. Thank you for showing up tonight. I'll see you, if Yah's willing, on Yom Kamishi. Hallelujah. Yes.
Before you close,